The hallway of Ravenhall Command Annex was built for ceremony-polished marble floors. Flags perfectly folded behind glass, echoes that carried rank and pride. So when a young cadet's voice sliced through that silence, "What is this? Bring your grandpa to work," day the sound hit harder than a rifle crack. 3 cadets stood there, crisp in their new uniforms. Shoes so polished they reflected their own arrogance. The one in front, Cadet Nolan Price, grinned like he'd just told the joke of the century. His friends, Vance and Ramos, laughed behind him, their confidence cheap and loud. At the far end of the corridor, Sam Harlow, 78 years old, kept sweeping. The slow rhythm of the broom against marble was steady, measured like a heartbeat. He didn't look up, didn't flinch. He'd heard voices like that before, only louder and mixed with gunfire. "Hey, old man," Price called again, stepping directly into the broom's path. "You deaf? Or just slow?" Sam stopped. The bristles of the broom touched his boot. He lifted his head just enough for the light to catch his eyes. Calm. Still. Just keeping the floor clean. "Son," the cadets laughed, "your job is to stay out of the way when soldiers walk by." Price sneered. Sam's gaze didn't waver. His spine, though bent with age, was straighter than theirs had ever been. A staffer walked past, eyes darting, pretending not to see. The air grew heavier, like before a storm, inside Sam's chest. Something old began to stir, the hum of rotor blades, the sting of red dust, the memory of men who never came home. He tightened his grip on the broom. The smooth wood felt familiar, balanced, almost like the stock of a rifle. And as the cadets' laughter echoed through the hall, the faintest tremor ran through the air, something that didn't belong in a quiet government building. It sounded, impossibly, like a helicopter far away, growing closer. "Where are you watching from?" Soldier hit subscribe and join the unit for more hidden hero stories. The laughter didn't fade, it sharpened. The sound bounced off the marble like ricochets. Cadet Nolan Price stepped closer, his polished boots stopping inches from the broom. "You know, old man, you should show some respect to the uniform." He puffed out his chest, shoulders stiff with borrowed pride. "We're the future of this country. You're just maintenance." Sam Harlow didn't answer. He simply swept the last bit of dust into a neat pile. His silence hit harder than words. To the boys, it felt like defiance. To Sam, it was mercy. Price's smirk twitched. "Your job is to be invisible," he said, and with a casual flick of his boot scattered the dust across the clean floor. The 2 other cadets laughed, but it was uneasy now. Something about the old man's stillness made their throats tighten. Sam straightened, not much. Just enough for the years to peel away. His hands, thick with calluses, gripped the wooden handle until his knuckles went white. For a heartbeat, the corridor wasn't a hallway anymore. It was K Vong Valley, 1969. The air filled with the sound of thwump, 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 Huey rotors beating through the smoke. The floor beneath him shifted into mud. The marble lights flickered into muzzle flashes. Then, silence again. Only the hum of fluorescent bulbs. Price leaned in. "Maybe you need a reminder of who's in charge here." Sam looked up finally. His voice came out low. Steady. Careful. "Son, you're standing on a floor that remembers more blood than you've ever seen." The words landed like a live round. The younger cadet flinched, unsure why. He forced a laugh, but his voice cracked. Behind them, the faint echo of footsteps approached, measured, deliberate, commanding, the kind of stride only one kind of man carried. Price turned his head toward the sound. Sam didn't. He already knew that walk. On the mezzanine overlooking the corridor, Lieutenant Sarah Knox froze mid-stride. She was carrying a stack of classified folders to the communications wing when she heard the laughter below, the kind of laughter that doesn't belong in a building lined with flags. Down below, 3 cadets towered over an old janitor, their voices sharp with arrogance. Sarah recognized the man instantly. Sam Harlow, the quiet janitor who greeted everyone with the same line every morning. Morning. Ma'am, floors'll shine today. She had never known his full name, only that he never missed a day. Her first instinct was to walk away. She was just a junior officer, an assistant in a place where hierarchy ruled like gravity. Getting involved meant risk, career-ending risk. But when she saw Cadet Price kick the broom, scattering the dust Sam had gathered so carefully, something inside her snapped. Her grandfather had served in the 173rd Airborne during Vietnam. He had that same posture, the same calm that came from seeing too much. And just like that, the hallway wasn't a workplace, it was a test. Sarah slipped into a side alcove. Heart pounding, pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contact list. She stopped at a single name, Colonel Elias Rourke, 82nd Airborne Command. Her thumb hovered, hesitated, then pressed call. A crisp voice answered Colonel Rourke's office. "This is Lieutenant Knox from Ravenhall Annex." She whispered, "It's an emergency. There are cadets harassing one of the janitors. His name is Samuel Harlow." Silence. Then, a shift. The tone on the line went from bureaucratic calm to something razor-sharp. "Say that name again." "Samuel Harlow." A pause murmurs in the background. "Then the colonel will be there immediately, inside his office on the top floor." Colonel Rourke stared at a satellite feed of a conflict halfway across the world. He didn't look up when his aide entered. "Sir, it's about a man named Samuel Harlow." Rourke froze. The name pulled the oxygen out of the room. He rose, his chair scraping the floor like a drawn sword. "Get me security. Initiate Raven Protocol quiet channel only." The aide blinked. "Raven Protocol? Sir, that hasn't been used in 10 years. Rourke finished. He was already putting on his jacket. Each motion precise, controlled. Move, and keep this internal. He's owed that much. Downstairs. The atmosphere in the hall shifted. Those same cadets who had laughed minutes ago suddenly felt the air grow heavier, like pressure before a storm. Sam Harlow didn't move. He kept his eyes on the marble floor, tracing the line where shadow met sunlight. He didn't need to see who was coming. He could feel it, the rhythm of boots on stone, perfectly measured, each step echoing command. Every instinct honed in war told him an officer's on the march. And somewhere above that echo, deep inside the old soldier's mind, a voice whispered from memory. "When you hear the call, you stand tall again. Sergeant Major." No matter how many years have passed. Sam's hand loosened on the broom handle. The storm was coming down the hall. The sound came first measured, deliberate, heavy with authority. Each footstep struck the marble like a gavel. The laughter in the hallway died mid-echo. Conversation stopped. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. The 3 cadets turned toward the sound. What they saw erased every trace of their earlier arrogance. Colonel Elias Rourke strode down the corridor, his uniform immaculate, ribbons and wings gleaming under the fluorescent lights. He wasn't marching, he was advancing, a presence that pulled every eye and spine to attention. 2 members of the security detail followed, but they looked like shadows compared to the force of the man in front. Without a word, Rourke stopped 3 feet from Sam Harlow. The silence between them felt alive. Decades of history hung invisible in the air, too dense for anyone else to see. Rourke's eyes were sharp, but his expression softened, something ancient and unspoken passing between the old janitor and the colonel. Then his voice thundered across the marble, a single word forged in the heat of another lifetime: Ravenwing. The sound cracked through the building like an explosion. Staffers flinched. The cadets froze, confused, but Sam moved. His spine straightened with a snap, every vertebra locking into place like a soldier's rifle being assembled. His shoulders squared. The tremor in his hands vanished, and when he looked up, his eyes were no longer tired or dull. They were alive, bright, focused, sharp as the day he led men through Operation Iron Ridge. He dropped the broom. It clattered to the floor, the echo rolling like distant artillery. His voice, rusty but iron strong, answered from deep within his chest all the way. "Colonel." Rourke's hand shot up in a salute so precise it could have cut glass. Sam returned it. The two men locked in a ritual older than the building around them. For that moment, time folded an old sergeant major and his commanding officer standing together again, the ghosts of their fallen brothers lining the hall unseen. The cadets didn't understand what they were witnessing, but everyone watching felt it. The air shimmered with reverence and guilt, awe and disbelief. Then Rourke turned toward them, his eyes like blue fire. "Do you have any idea who you were talking to?" The question hit like a gunshot. No one spoke. Rourke took a step closer, voice rising, controlled fury in every syllable. "You were mocking Sergeant Major Samuel Harlow, a man who bled for this flag before your parents even wore shoes. 5 Purple Hearts, 3 Silver Stars." He held the line at Iron Ridge when his entire platoon was gone. Each word landed like a strike. The cadets' faces drained of color. The hall was silent except for the thundering of their own hearts. Rourke's final words came low, cold, deliberate. "You wanted a lesson in respect, you're standing in it." And as his glare pinned them in place, Sam Harlow finally broke the silence with a quiet exhale that sounded almost like forgiveness, but forgiveness would have to wait, because the colonel wasn't done yet. The echo of Colonel Rourke's words still hung in the air like gunpowder after a volley. The 3 cadets stood frozen faces, pale, backs ramrod straight, their arrogance stripped clean. The marble floor seemed to stretch endlessly beneath the weight of their shame. Then the colonel broke the silence. "You will report to my office at 0600 tomorrow. Full dress uniform. You'll spend the next 6 months studying every after-action report, from Sergeant Major Harlow's unit, Operation Iron Ridge through Iron Ridge Revisited. And you will learn the meaning of honor, courage, and respect." No one dared breathe. Rourke turned to Sam Harlow. The fury in his face melted into something softer, something only soldiers understood. "Sergeant Major," he said quietly, "it's an honor." "Sir." Sam's lips curved into a tired smile. He bent down, picked up his broom, and said, "They're just kids, Colonel. Full of fire, just need to be aimed the right way." Rourke gave a faint nod, the kind that carried respect instead of rank. He saluted again, crisp and wordless. Before turning away, when the colonel's footsteps faded, the hallway fell silent. Sam looked at the broom in his hands, running his thumb over the worn handle like a rifle's grip. His reflection shimmered faintly in the marble old eyes. "But unbroken, a man's worth," he said softly. "Ain't in the medals on his chest or the stripes on his sleeve. It's in doing your job right, whatever it is." A year later, a newly commissioned Second Lieutenant Nolan Price found Sam sweeping the same hallway. He stopped, stood tall, and rendered a perfect salute. No words, just respect. Sam met his eyes and gave a slow nod. "You learned." The young officer smiled. "Ravenwing all the way." Sam returned the salute, the faint hum of distant rotor blades echoing somewhere beyond memory. Respect isn't inherited by the uniform, it's earned by how you carry the weight of it. And sometimes, the quietest men leave the loudest legacy.